Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. And yes, we have a big market watch for you today. This is a weekend where we have not one, but two Pioneer Players Tour tournaments going on. This is the first time Pioneer has been in this kind of big spotlight, so as you could imagine, there are some price impacts to discuss. Also, the standard format is starting to come together, and it's been another big week for Commander, especially competitive Commander, which we'll talk about later in the video too. Quickly though, before we get started, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use that Heroes promo code, save 10% on orders over $10. And they do have Theros Beyond Death singles up on the website now, so if you're looking for some cards, you might want to check it out. Hopefully save yourself a little cash. And when you do use that promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin, as we always do, with Standard and the top 10 Standard legal cards that have lost value this week. Now, we're not going to talk about Theros Beyond Death cards individually in this video. We did a companion video on those a couple days ago. I'll link it at the end of this one in case you missed it. But let's see what's happening. Number 10 is Assassin's Trophy, down 31 cents to $16. I think this card has been mostly soft because of Standard recently. Obviously, we were in between Standard seasons. Now, early in this Standard season, it just doesn't look like you're seeing a lot of this card being used. A lot of the removal spots in decks are going towards things that can exile, even though this does open up a lot of possibilities as far as this can take out any non-land permanent. I think at this time in the meta, people are more concerned about dealing with gods and such. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. That could change. Now, outside of Standard, it's still very successful. In Modern, it's doing quite well. In fact, it is making a little bit of a comeback there with decks like Jund doing better now that Oko got banned. This is also still seeing Legacy and Vintage play. Number 9 is Sir Gwyn, Hero of Ashvale. This goes down 33 cents to $2.75. Now, this is the non-foil copy that you would find in collector boosters as opposed to the foil that's in the Knight's Charge Brawl deck. However, the Brawl decks are getting out there in bigger numbers. We've talked about that over the last couple weeks. Because of that, this card has become a little bit cheaper. And it is still popular in Commander for players that are trying to build Knights decks around this. Number 8 is Questing Beast, down 35 cents to $17.08. Now, granted, this card does feel like it's been soft for a little while now, but I do think it is going to stabilize pretty soon. It is seeing some early Standard play in Simic Ramp, and it's doing well in other formats. It's seeing some Pioneer play in main decks and also sideboards and decks like Golgari Soulflayer, Mono Green Stompy, sometimes Nib to Light and more there, and it has seen some Modern and Legacy play too. Number 7 is Vivian Arkbow Ranger, down 40 cents to $13.72. So every week I kind of look at this card and say it feels like it should be good in Standard, but then I don't really see it doing a whole lot in Standard. Maybe that will change, but it is doing some stuff in some other formats. Pioneer, you'll find this in Winding Scales builds and more. It also sees a little Modern play too. Number 6 is Watery Grave from Ravnica, City of Guilds. It goes down 41 cents to $21.46. It's always good to take a look at these original versions of cards because they could be indicators of what some of the later printings could be doing in the future. This one is going down this week, but I do think it should stabilize relatively quickly. Now, the reason for the most part these shock lands have been a little bit soft is because as we move into this Theros Standard, there is at least a percentage of decks that are going to go monocolor, so there are less copies of these necessary for Standard players right now in general. Also, another thing that's been going on is 4 of the shock lands, their Guilds of Ravnica block versions, were included in the Brawl decks. So with the Brawl decks getting out there, those particular 4 copies softened up too, and this is one of them. You can find this in the Fairy Schemes deck. Now, with all that being said, these cards are still going to see Standard play as well as Modern, and maybe most importantly right now, Pioneer play. One of the decks that kind of came out of nowhere this weekend, which is looking amazing in those Players Tour tournaments, is the Dimir Inverter of Truth deck, which of course we'll see more cards from that deck in a little bit. This is part of that mana base, and I do think the popularity of that deck will grow even more in the coming weeks. Also, this is in some other big decks in the format, like Dredgeless Dredge, Sultai Midrange, Esper Doom, Dimir Control, and others. Number 5, Chromatic Lantern. This is the one from Commander 2016, though. It goes down 46 cents to $7.53. This has some potential in Standard, perhaps. I haven't seen a lot of decks yet taking off trying to use this, but it could happen. Now, this is seeing a little bit of play in Pioneer. There is a Niv to Light variant that will run a copy of this. This also sees a tad bit of Vintage play. Blue Emery Shops will run a copy. But the real reason this holds value is because it's a big Commander card. Number 4, another original Shockland. This is Steam Vents from Guild Pact. It goes down 49 cents to $21.95. So this one is not in a Brawl deck, and it is still going down in value, even though it is seeing some play in Standard already in Jeskai Fires, for example. In Pioneer, it's in some big decks there too, like Is It in Sol and Is It Phoenix? Number 3, very similar story here. Sacred Foundry, another original Shockland, this time from Ravnica City of Guilds. It goes down 51 cents to 15.19. Like the previous one, this is not in a Brawl deck, and it's in some pretty good decks. Jeskai Fires and Standard again. In Pioneer, you'll find this in Fire Super Friends, Boros Feather, and more. Number 2 is the Royal Scions, down 63 cents to 9.86. So this card I do think is going to lose a little more value before it stabilizes, just because I haven't seen it do a whole lot in the early Standard meta. Now that could change definitely as time goes on. It is still doing a little work though in Pioneer and Modern. In Pioneer, Is It in Sol? A good portion of the time will run a couple copies of this, and it's in some other decks there too. Modern Grixis Death Shadow usually runs a copy, and again you'll find it in other places in that format as well. Number 1, Vraska, Golgari Queen, goes down 66 cents to 13.80. Now I do think this could lose a little more value, but I do think it's going to stabilize relatively quick. It lost a lot of value as Oko was banned in multiple formats because this was a good foil to Oko. But now that Oko's gone, still seeing play. In Standard, you'll find this in Jund and Golgari Sacrifice decks as well as Sultai Midrange, and it does continue to see play in Pioneer and Modern as well. Okay, on to the top 5 Standard legal cards that have gained value this week. Number 5 is Teferi Time Raveler, up $1.51 to $20.86. So far in Standard, this continues to see play. Azorius Control will run this. That deck looks pretty good. Jeskai Fires and more in the format. Pioneer, though, might be the story this week with all the big tournaments going on. You're going to find this in Nib to Light, which is a very popular and successful deck. Azorius Control, which is doing well there too, and more. Additionally, you're going to find this in Modern, Legacy, and Vintage right now. And also, the professor from Tolarian Community College did a deck tech this week on a Chilean Cheerios Commander deck, and this was featured there too, which could have brought some more attention to the card as well. Number 4 is Finale of Devastation. This goes up $1.65 to $13.99. This is showing up in the Simic Ramp builds now in Standard, and it continues to see Modern play even in the post-Oko meta. Number 3 is Absorb. This is the one from Ravnica Allegiance. It goes up $2.55 to $5. This is another card the professor mentioned in that Chilean Cheerios video, but I think it's really moving again more because of Pioneer and a little bit because of Standard this week. Azorius Control decks in both those formats are running this, and they both look pretty good. Number 2, Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, at $4.47 to $7.53. Keep an eye on this card. It's going up pretty quickly. It could go up more over the course of the day, even before the video comes out. First off, even with the foil Secret Lair reprint that went out, this is still jumping up. Now, it is seeing some play in Standard. Sultai Midrange will run this card, but the real story here is twofold: Pioneer and Commander. Pioneer, this is in that Dimir Inverter of Truth deck, which is very hot right now. Because of that alone, I expect this card to gain a lot of value. This also shows up in sideboards of Lotus Storm builds, which are popular too. In Modern, this is even seeing play in Ad Nauseam. Now, when it comes to Commander, we knew this card was getting hot because of Thassa's Oracle there. But recently, there has been a competitive Commander deck that has really taken off because of Thassa's Oracle, and it's called Sushi Hulk. You might have heard of it before. The deck runs Protean Hulk, hence the name. The commanders are Tymna the Weaver and Thrasios Triton Hero. This is a key part of that deck, and you will see throughout this video there are other cards from the build going up in price too. Number 1, Ajani Strength of the Pride, for the second week in a row, goes up $5.70 to $13.15. So this card is starting to slow down a little bit, but it does look good in this next Standard season. Mono White Life Gain is playing it, and there's also a Pioneer deck running this. It's a White Weenie Life Gain deck. Okay, let's move on to Pioneer. We're going to look at the top 9 Pioneer legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 9 is Ronas the Indomitable. It goes down $1.01 to $15. This is showing up in Golgari and Mono Green Stompy decks as well as Golgari Soulflare. It's not seeing as much play as it was seeing a few weeks ago though, so it could lose a little more value, but I don't think it's going to lose all that much. Number 8 is Pithing Needle. This is the one from 10th edition. It goes down $1.30 to $6. This card's kind of been all over the place trying to find its price point. Obviously, this is a good sideboard card for Modern, Legacy, and Vintage, and now it has another home in Pioneer. Number 7 is Jace Vryn's Prodigy, down $1.37 to $28.49. Now, this card has been losing a lot of value, and I've been pretty critical of it when it comes to its prospects. However, this week looked a little more eventful for the card. Dimir Inverter of Truth was running one of these in the sideboard about half the time, which isn't a lot, but it's something. This is also showing up in some other decks, though. Sultai Midrange, Dimir Control, and a few more. It also continues to see some Vintage play. I do think it will lose more value, but maybe not quite as quickly, especially if a lot of people are trying to build Inverter of Truths this week. Number 6 is Nicol Bolas, the Ravager, another card that's lost a lot of value. This week it goes down $1.68 to $26.95, and it's just not really catching on in Pioneer. Now, this card did spike pretty aggressively due to the fact that a lot of people had hope for this in Pioneer, but also because of the Ur-Dragon reprint that occurred within the Kaleidoscope Killer secret layer not too long ago. That card many times will play with Morophon decks with this one, so this did see a pretty big spike a few weeks back. I think you're going to see continued retraction and normalization now, though, off that spike. Number 5 is Liliana, the Last Hope. It goes down $1.80 to $48, and I do think this card might lose a little more value, but I do feel like it could be stabilizing relatively quickly, too. It has been retracting ever since it had a pretty major spike when the Pioneer format was announced, and it does see play. Sometimes sideboard play in Mono Black Aggro and Mono Black Vampires, which are very popular. Also can see play in Rakdos midrange, Sultai midrange, Dimir Control, and more. And it does see Modern Legacy and Vintage play, too. Put it all together, and I do think this will still hold a lot of its value. Number 4 is Mutavault. This is the one from Morningtide, going down $1.87 this week to $23.12. I would expect this copy to stabilize relatively quickly too, just because if you watch the Pioneer events this weekend, it looks pretty good in Mono Black Aggro. It also shows up in Is It in Soul, Spirits builds, Big Red, Mono Black Vampires, and more. Also sees Modern Legacy play, and it's a big commander card too. Number 3 is Yavimaya Coast from Apocalypse this time, down 206 to 759. So a lot of these Apocalypse Pain lands got hot for a while. When Pioneer was announced, these just dried up really quickly. And then as people saw the price go up on these, they started looking into their collections, realizing they had copies. They sold them to stores or traded them. They ended up out there in the marketplace again, and the prices have been coming down and stabilizing. That's what you're seeing here. Additionally, though, there's another factor on this card, and that's Oko. At one point, this was actually seeing modern play because Oko was so prevalent. Now those days are gone, and this is more of just a Pioneer card again, but it is seeing a lot of play still in Pioneer. Lotus Storm builds, Simic Ramp, Traverse Ramp, and more. Number 2 is Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. It goes down $2.81 to $35.57. This card has been spiking pretty aggressively over the last few weeks, so it's not too surprising to see some retraction here. Still continues to see play in a lot of the Pioneer Ramp builds. Also sees play in Modern and Legacy too, and it's a great commander card. Number 1, Ghalta Primal Hunger. This is the one, though, from Game Nights 2019, the most recent Game Nights edition. This goes down $3.32 to $9.54. This card has been slowly creeping up. It didn't quite make the market watch, but it's come close a few times. Now it's finally retracting off those increases. Now, this started to go up because of Pioneer and Commander. It's actually been a very popular commander card recently, but also in Pioneer, you'll find this in Golgari and Mono Green Stompy. I do think you have seen some exaggerated prices, though, around this particular copy because it is a little harder to find. Okay, let's move on to the top 7 Pioneer legal cards that have gained value this week. And again, stay close to these prices because with the events going on, Pioneer cards are doing all sorts of crazy things right now. Again, by the time this video comes out, prices may have shifted. Number 7 is Perilous Vault, up $1.70 to $4.70. Simic and Mono Green Ramp sideboards are using this at least a good percentage of the time now. And in Modern, where the meta is reshaping itself, Modern Tron decks are using this out of the sideboard sometimes too. Number 6 is Thoughtseize from Iconic Masters. It goes up $1.70 to $33.24. Okay, now nobody's surprised that this is an amazing card. We talk about it all the time, but it has gotten a lot of exposure this weekend during those tournaments, and because of that, it's on people's minds, and here you go. One copy is starting to climb up again. You're going to find this in Mono Black Aggro, Dimir Inverter of Truth, Mono Black Vampires. It's also a big Modern and Legacy card too. Number 5 is a different Ghalta Primal Hunger. This is the one from the original Game Nights product, and this copy is going up $3.29 to $11.63. Like I mentioned, this is seeing additional play in Pioneer and Commander, but I do think this copy just dried up a little bit this week and will normalize like the other copy we saw pretty soon. Number 4, Sylvan Caryatid goes up $3.81 to $12.10. You're going to see this in Nib to Light, another very popular Pioneer deck, as well as Golgari Soulflayer, 4-color Awakening Ascendancy, and more. This also sees Modern play too. Number 3 is Archangel of Thune. This is the one from Iconic Masters. It goes up $4.25 to $21.24. This is seeing some light Pioneer play right now. Maybe in the future we'll see more, but I do think this is moving mostly because of Commander this week. It is seeing additional play with Heliod Sun Crowned. Number 2, Starfield of Nyx going up $7.23 to $16.03. This is seeing some Pioneer play. We mentioned it last week, but now those decks are starting to solidify around an Esper Doom strategy. And that deck actually looks pretty decent. Commander players have also been playing this more because of Theros Beyond Death, bringing enchantments and cards that care about enchantments. Number 1, of course, what else could it be? Inverter of Truth, up $8.13 to $9. Like I said earlier, it just had a breakout week in these big tournaments. We'll have to see what the final results are. But regardless, a lot of people are paying attention to this deck now, and a lot of people are trying to pick up this card. Again, I would expect it to actually cost more by the time you watch the video. It's moving up rapidly. Now, the idea here is you play this into Thassa's Oracle and hopefully win the game. This has also seen some additional commander play with Thassa's Oracle in that format too. Okay, on to Modern with your top 7 Modern legal cards that have lost value this week. So we've been talking a lot about Modern and what's happened to the format. A couple of things that you need to be aware of. It has been slow because of Pioneer for one reason. Some players are trying out Pioneer, which definitely diluted the player base a little bit. Also, we have those mystery boosters lurking over our head. The retail variation of those, which comes out in March, will have 121 foil reprints that are not in the convention edition. We don't know what those are yet. Some of them could be big Modern cards, which are expensive, so some people are shying away from making those big purchases right now. And finally, you have the Oko situation. Oko was banned a few weeks ago now, which definitely has freed up the format again. But for a time period, there wasn't a lot of diversity in the format, and a lot of the big decks that people put money and time into were not very viable against Oko. And because of that, that did turn a lot of people off to the format. Now, I do see signs of them coming back, and a lot of those decks like Jund and Tron have been performing a lot better over the last couple weeks. And I do think you'll continue to see some of the Modern staples begin to stabilize and begin to trend up again. So let's see what's happening here. Number 7 is Maronar from Champions of Kamigawa. It goes down $1.74 to $26.25. Not really a big Modern card, more of a commander card, but one that also saw a reprint recently in the Year of the Rat Secret Lair. Number 6 is the Modern Masters copy of Dark Confidant, going down $1.98 to $52.05. So even with Jund making a comeback, this card is still soft this week. Although I have seen other copies of the card stabilize and already start to creep up a little bit. So I do think this one will stabilize soon too. Like I said, this does see play in Jund, The Rock as well, Abzan sees legacy play too. Number 5 is Jace the Mind Sculptor. This is the original one from World Wake. It goes down $205 to $110.47. So this is going down, but it is the original copy that holds the most value. The cheaper copies are stabilizing, even beginning to creep up a little bit. So I do think, much like Dark Confidant, this card should stabilize relatively quickly. It is seeing more play again in the format. Azorius Control, Bant Snowblade, Bant Blade, Izzet Control, also sees Legacy and Vintage play too. Number 4, Idyllic Tutor from Morningtide. It goes down $241 to $25. Okay, so obviously the reason this is going down is because it was reprinted in Theros Beyond Death. Now, it's technically a standard and Pioneer legal card, but I did put it in Modern because I haven't integrated those cards into the regular Market Watch yet. So I could have put it in the other section, I suppose, but figured we're going to talk about it regardless. Now, when it comes to gameplay, we know this has always been a good commander card for decks that have a lot of enchantments. But in Pioneer, this is actually seeing play already. Fire Super Friends, and sometimes in 4-color Awakening Ascendancy. Number 3 is Blood Moon, but this is the original copy from the Dark. It goes down $250 to $47.48. This is the most volatile of all the copies because there's just not as many copies in good condition out there in the marketplace at any given time. But this could be a result of just maybe some new copies being introduced. This still sees a lot of Modern play, typically out of sideboards, Mono Red Blitz, Mono Red Prowess, and more. Sees Legacy play too. Number 2, Sword of Fire and Ice. This is the original from Darksteel. It goes down $291 to $76.99. Again, we have a copy of a card that is going down in value, but is seeing a little more play again in the format. Although, this is competing with Sword of Feast and Famine, which is actually seeing more play right now in the Modern format when you compare the two. And I do think that's part of the reason this is still soft. This will show up in Bat Blade in the format, and it does see more Legacy play than Sword of Feast and Famine, so that's worth noting. This is a big commander card too, which recently, like all equipment, got a little hotter because of Sir Gwyn, Hero of Ashval. Number 1, Ensnaring Bridge. Again, 2 copies to talk about this week. 7th edition down $1.94 to $41.22. 8th edition down $3.22 to $36.98. This card continues to just see less play percentage-wise overall. Again, maybe things will shift back in its favor at some point in the future, but at least for right now, especially in the Modern format, it's not showing up as much. You will still find this in Tron builds as a sideboard one of typically. Grixis Warza usually runs a copy in the main, and it does see Legacy and Vintage play as well, even if it is not quite as much as it used to. Okay, on to the top 6 Modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Number 6 is the aforementioned Sword of Feast and Famine. This is the one for Mirrodin Besieged. It goes up $1.69 to $58.99. Like I said, this is seeing more modern play now, and is always Control, Banned Stoneblade, and more, and it is beating out Sword of Fire and Ice overall for percentage play. This does see some legacy play too, and is a huge Commander card. Number 5 is Awakening Zone. This is the copy from Commander. It goes up $1.81 to $5.71. Recently, this has seen increased Commander play with Korvold Fakehurst King, but I think this is an example of one of the harder to find editions of the card drying up a little bit this week in the marketplace. Number 4 is Snapcaster Mage from Modern Masters 2017, up $2.10 this week to $49.99. Two reasons for this. One, it is seeing more modern play again. Grixis Death Shadow, Azorius Control, Banned Snowblade, and more. Also does see Legacy and Vintage play too, but Commander is the other reason I think this is moving this week. The Command Zone did a deck tech video this week on a deck featuring Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath, and that deck actually did very well on game nights the week before. This is one of the cards featured in it. A number of the cards from that deck also going up in value this week. Number 3, Craterhoof Behemoth. This is the one from Avacyn Restored. It goes up $2.28 to $38.50. This is seeing play now in some of the mono green ramp decks in Modern. Continues to see legacy play too, and it's always been a huge Commander card. Recently, Reese the Redeemed, this card's partner in crime in Commander, was reprinted in Mystery Boosters, and this did bring some more interest back to this card. Also, this is seeing more play now with Nyx Bloom Ancient in the format. Number 2, Ranger Captain of Eos, goes up $3.64 to $12, another card that is seeing more modern play again. You'll find this in Death and Taxes, Abzan Company builds, and more. This has also seen some increased Commander play recently with Chilean Teller of Tales. And this is another card that the Professor mentioned this week in a video. He did a deck tech on a Safi Eriksdotter Commander deck, and this was one of the cards in it. Number 1 is Bloom Tender, up $4.83 to $57.78. Okay, more of a Commander card than a Modern card here, but nothing can hold this thing back. It was reprinted in Mystery Boosters. That did make the price go down for a little bit. Now it's rebounding back pretty strongly. So why is that? We know it's a huge Commander card, right? But that alone isn't why it's moving that much this week. We also know that, I'll use my one per video here, this is one of those cards from that time period of Magic where we had a recession, less packs were cracked, so sometimes these rares do get spiky. However, the reason this is moving up as much as it is right now is because of the Sushi Hulk competitive Commander deck I mentioned earlier in the video. Again, keep an eye out, we're going to be talking about that deck more as the video goes on. On to our Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that are played in Legacy, Vintage, 93, 94, or cards that are just important to collectors. We're going to begin by checking in on the cards that were recently banned in Modern, see how they're doing. Again, Oko Thief of Crowns as well as the next two cards continue to see Legacy and Vintage as well as Commander play, but they are soft right now due to that Modern banning. This one's going down 83 cents to $18.99. Mox Opal, Scars of Mirrodin down $1.30 to $76.99. Modern Masters 2015 down $3.53 to $74.99. And Mycosynth Lattice, Battle Bond down $2.08 to $38.99. Dark Steel down $4.09 to $42.62. These are average prices, remember, and they are dropping quickly still, so you can find these for cheaper. Shop around a little bit. There are better deals to be had than the average. Okay, on to the cards that are going up in value now, beginning with a revised dual land. Taiga, this goes up $1.75 to $149.50. A number of these are moving again. I wanted to point this one out. Even though it's not moving a ton percentage-wise, it is trending back up again after a little bit of softness on some of these cards. This is on the reserve list. Mana Vault, 3 copies going up this week, revised up $1.03 to $29.92. Ultimate Masters up $1.36 to $36.50. Unlimited up $1.79 to $130.09. That one just might be moving because it's unlimited though. And this of course is a huge Commander and a good vintage card. Lake of the Dead, this is on the reserve list. It goes up $1.81 to $29.98. You're going to find this in Legacy Mono Black Reanimator. Next we have Survival of the Fittest, up $2.02 to $83. This is the one from Exodus. It is on the reserve list, but there was a Judge promo reprinting before they closed that loophole on the reserve list. This is the key card in Vintage Survival and is in the competitive Commander deck, Sushi Hulk. This also got a Command Zone mention this week too, which could have brought some attention to it as well. Next we have Chain of Vapor. This is the one from Commander 2016. It goes up $2.24 to $6.35. Huge Commander card, sees Legacy play too, but this is also in Sushi Hulk. Third verse, same as the first. Chrome Mox for Mirrodin goes up $3.35 to $45.40. You can guess what deck this is in. Yup, it's Sushi Hulk. It's also a good Legacy card as well as a huge Commander card generally. Fourth verse, same as the first. Mox Diamond. This one's on the reserve list, but it did get a printing in from the Vault Relics in foil again before they closed the loophole. The Stronghold copy, though, goes up $4.84 to $268.44. Now again, you're going to find this in Sushi Hulk. Again, it's a huge Commander card, also sees Legacy play as well. Brain Freeze. This goes up 543 to 699. This is in a new Legacy deck, actually. Jeskai Underworld Breach. And there's also some other variations on it. But that deck runs Brain Freeze, 4 copies of it typically. It runs Thassa's Oracle and 4 copies of Underworld Breach. So far, it's looking like a very strong Legacy build. Tropical Island from Revised. This is another dual land, of course, on the reserve list, going up 654 to 294 this week. Mana Drain. Legends up 301 to 184. Iconic Masters up 725 to 9664. And this is a great vintage, great commander card, and yes, this also shows up in Sushi Hulk. Lion's Eye Diamond up 729 to 208.89. This is on the reserve list. And yes, another good Legacy and Vintage card. And yes, you can sometimes find this in Sushi Hulk too. Carpet of Flowers up 817 to 32.75. This is the one from Urza's Saga, and this did get a reprinting in Mystery Boosters. But again, it did bring the price down for a little while, but all of a sudden this card just took off, partially because of some Command Zone mentions. However, this is a great Legacy sideboard card, great commander card, and yes, does see play in Sushi Hulk. Mana Crypt, 2 copies, Eternal Masters up 268 to 202.68, the original book giveaway media promo up 1047 to 237.50. Another card reprinted in Mystery Boosters that went down for a little bit, now is climbing back up. Great vintage card, huge commander card, and yes, you might find this in Sushi Hulk too. Next we have an unlimited card. It's Copy Artifact. Now this one's on the reserve list, although it did get a reprinting and revised. It goes up 1092 to 110.09. So for a very long time, unlimited cards were extremely hot. We were talking about them all the time on the Market Watch. Then all of a sudden the vintage Magic market slowed down quite a bit. Now this week we are seeing them jump back to life, and this is one example of that. Next, we have another revised dual land on the reserve list, Volcanic Island. It goes up 1113 this week to 462.12. Wrath of God, a couple copies here. Portal goes up $1.05 to 1380. Hard to find that one in good condition nowadays. Unlimited going up 1216 to 7603, most likely because it's an unlimited card that's pretty popular. Additionally, this was mentioned by the professor in 2 different videos this week. That might have something to do with especially the Portal one moving. Another unlimited card getting hot again, 2-Headed Giant of 4 Eyes. This is on the reserve list. It goes up 1267 to 7409. Gaia's Cradle going up quite a bit this week. It goes up 1726 to 352.64. This is from Urza's Saga. It is on the reserve list, but yet again, this is another one of those cards that got reprinted as a Judge promo prior to them closing that loophole. This sees play in Legacy decks like Maverick, Elves, Sultai Zenith Oko, and more. And in Commander, this is always a big card if you're lucky enough to have a copy. Especially now with those big mana decks becoming popular with Nyx Bloom Ancient out there. Also, the professor did mention this one too in that Chulain Cherio's Commander Deck Tech video. Balance from Unlimited, another hot unlimited card here, goes up 1851 to 59.99. Sedge Troll from Unlimited, this is on the reserve list but did get reprinted and revised. It goes up $23.70 to $100.28. Next is Time Vault from Unlimited on the reserve list. It goes up $99.36 to $9.75. And because this is a card that does not see a lot of sales, at least in good grade over the course of any given week, it is hard to get strong data on this. So a lot of times you do have to default back to what people are asking as opposed to what they're actually selling for because they're just not selling. This one is jumping up this week, but there are some slightly higher listings out there that are pushing it. It could be some people just fishing for an offer. The same is true for the unlimited copy of this and the next card we're going to look at. This is Underground Sea, of course, on the reserve list. Revised goes up $18 to $492.54. Unlimited up $117.46 to $1,067.55. And Scrubland on the reserve list. Revised up $343 to $149.99. And Unlimited is up $123 to $399.99. Okay, onto the Commander Spotlight. A ton of cards here, so I'm going to try to go pretty quick. We have Blightsteel Colossus up $1.04 to $53.99. This does see a little more play because of Nyx Bloom Ancient being out there, but this did get a Command Zone mention too in that Euro Deck Tech video. Also does see some vintage play. Greater Oromancy up $1.06 to $32.99. This, of course, is from that time period of Magic. I won't say it again. But this is also seeing more play from the Enchantment and Enchantment Matters cards coming in from Theros Beyond Death. Necropotence from Eternal Masters. It goes up $1.10 to $20.45. Huge commander card. Has been pushed recently by Carrick, Son of Yawgmoth. This also sees vintage play too. Sliver Hivelord from Magic 2015. Another card that got a reprint in Mystery Boosters, going up in value. This goes up $1.12 to $33.28. Now what pushed this one recently was the Kaleidoscope Killers product. That Secret Lair reprinted Sliver Overlord, which brought more attention back to slivers in general. Vampiric Tutor, the one from Visions, it goes up $1.12 to $64.29. Another huge commander card. I mean, for the most part, tutors always are. This sees vintage play, and this is also in Sushi Hulk for you competitive commander players. Here's another card that lets you search. Spellseeker goes up $1.15 to $11.52. And this does show up in Sushi Hulk as well. And just generally, though, it's a great commander card. Sun Triplets up $1.19 to $63.97. This card spiked aggressively towards the end of December because of that Game Nights episode where it won. And it also had a lot of Command Zone podcast mentions. Many players discovered this card for the first time. A lot of people were building around it in Commander. And now it is starting to stabilize finally. Even though it is going up from week to week, it has been going down over the last few days. And perhaps it's going to start to try to find its new price point. Prosh, Skywriter of Kerr, goes up $1.20 to $3.19. This is the one from Commander 2013. And this has seen additional Commander play recently with Korvold Faker's King out there. Ancient Tomb, Ultimate Masters up $1 to $24.95. Tempest up $1.22 to $26.33. Huge commander card, also sees Legacy and Vintage play too. Another card that the professor mentioned in that Tulane Cheerios Commander deck tech. Parallel Lives, this goes up $1.27 to $19.81. Big commander card for token strategies. Reese the Redeemed was recently reprinted in Mystery Boosters. I think that's part of the reason this card is heated up again. Enlightened Tutor, this is the copy from Eternal Masters. It goes up $1.27 to $32. Another Tutor, so you know it's going to be a huge commander card. This also sees play in Sushi Hulk. And in Legacy, this is in a number of decks, including the new Jeskai Underworld Breach build. And the professor also mentioned this card in 2 videos this week, which also, again, could have brought some attention to it. Mirage Mirror, this goes up $1.31 to $3.79. Another big commander card, but this is getting a push this time from the Command Zone podcast. This is another card that was in that Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath build they talked about. Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth up $1.34 to $21.13. This is the one from Planar Chaos. It's another big commander card, but sees Pioneer play too. Mono Black Aggro, Mono Black Vampires, and more. Also sees Modern play in Golgari Yawgmoth, and shows up in Legacy and Vintage too. World Gorger Dragon, the one from Judgment, goes up $1.42 to $8.99. This card's been hot for a couple weeks now. Of course, there's a classic combo between this and Animate Dead that sees play in Commander. This has also seen increased play, though, with Anji Falconwrath. Cyclonic Rift, this is the one from Commander 2014. It goes up $1.43 to $21.99. Now, this is one of the biggest Commander cards out there. Shows up in decks all the time. And this is also in Pioneer and Simic Ramp and some other places there, and even can see a little Modern play. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, it goes up $1.48 to $24.09. Another big commander card seeing additional play due to some of the new Devotion cards coming out, but also a card that sees Pioneer play too, Mono White Devotion and many other decks there, and can show up in Modern as well. Here's another sliver moving again because of Kaleidoscope Killers, the first sliver. It goes up $1.49 to $11.49. Swarmyard up $1.50 to $13.90, moving mostly I think because of Year of the Rat, the newest of the secret layers. But Unsanctioned Squirrels might have got this moving a little bit too among casual players or commander players that allow for some silver bordered cards to see play. Crystal Shard from Mirrodin, this was reprinted in Mystery Boosters and did go down a little bit, but now is going up again, up $1.53 to $3.43. This works very well with Thassa's Oracle, but was also featured in the Command Zone podcast this week, because again, this was in that Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath build. Scourge of the Throne is moving up $1.53 this week to $22.95, seeing more commander play because of the Ur-Dragon reprint and Kaleidoscope Killers. Ulamog the Infinite Gyre shows up in those Eldrazi commander builds. Modern Masters 2015 up $1.07 to $24.99. Rise of the Eldrazi up $1.54 to $26.74. Cavern of Souls from Modern Masters 2017 up $1.54 to $60. Great commander card for tribal builds, and this has seen some increased play recently because of some of the secret layers that are tribal based. Also, this sees play in Modern, Amulet Titan, Humans, Titan Field, Eldrazi-tron, Slivers, and more. Shows up in Legacy and Vintage too. Paradigm Shift up $1.73 to $8.97. This card's been hot for a little while. It is on the reserve list. Self-mill decks are going to like this. Obviously, this has been popular since Thassa's Oracle came out. This will see play with Jace Wielder and Mysteries and Laboratory Maniac, so on and so forth. Winds of Change up $1.75 to $18.29. This is the one from Portal. And this is a decent commander card, but the Portal copy is just drying up a little bit. These are getting harder and harder to find all the time in good condition. Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. This goes up $1.87 to $43.52. Again, we have a card that was reprinted in Mystery Boosters, but still going up in value. Excellent in big mana decks, which of course are more popular right now because of Nyx Bloom Ancient. And also, this is another card in that Euro deck that they talked about on the Command Zone podcast this week. Power Artifact, part of a very powerful combo that can give you a lot of mana, of course, in Commander. This one's on the reserve list. It goes up 322 to 136.14. And in addition to it just being great, this also was mentioned by the professor in that Tulane Cheerios Commander deck tech. Kaineos Intero of Miletus goes up 348 to 1288. This is only found in foil, actually. And this is just a great group hug card, which I think is just seeing a little more play right now because of all the focus on Theros. Tainted Pact goes up 357 to 34.99. Another card pushed by Thassa's Oracle, and another card you will find in the Sushi Hulk build. Here's another Sushi Hulk card, Gilded Drake. It goes up 401 to 72.66. This one is on the reserve list. Thrashios Triton Hero, surprise, surprise, one of the commanders from that Sushi Hulk deck. Shows up in other places in Commander too, though. It goes up 408 to 23.99. Razor Claw Bear, up 482 to $50.99. If you want to play some Bear Tribal in Commander and you want this card, this is the only show in town. This is yet to be reprinted, and those Portal Second Age copies are getting harder and harder to find in good condition. We made it to the Pauper Spotlight. A lot of Commander cards, though, right? So let's see what's happening in the world of Pauper. We get Muldrifter here. This is one from Dual Decks, Jace versus Chandra. It goes up 10 cents to 164. So Muldrifters in general are going up in value. This one was moving the most, though. I mean, there's tons of copies printed, so it's hard to move the needle on this card. But it is seeing play right now in Pauper Tron decks, as well as Azorius Flicker and Scred Control, and other places too. Sees a little modern play as well. It's a huge Commander card, and yes, it did get a Command Zone mention this week in that Euro deck tech. Finhorn Elves from Ice Age going up 10 cents this week to 197. Sees play in Pauper Elves. Also in Legacy Elves too. Another huge Commander card, and yes, it does see play in Sushi Hulk as well. And the professor mentioned this one in that Tulane Cheerios Commander deck tech video too. Pyroblast, Ice Age up 16 cents to 250. Eternal Masters up 26 cents to 393. You're going to find this one in Pauper Tron, Scred Fairies, Affinity, Seas Legacy, and Vintage Play too, though. Gemhide Sliver from the Slivers builds in Pauper. It goes up 28 cents to 221. And again, this is maybe getting an additional push because Slivers are more popular right now in Commander 2 since that Kaleidoscope Killer's reprinting of Sliver Overlord. Lava Spike goes up 28 cents to 333. You're going to find this in Pauper Burn. Also sees a lot of modern play and some legacy play too. Okay, on to the premium spotlight. I say this every week, but I don't like to spend too much time on foils or rare promos because, much like I was discussing about the vintage cards earlier, sometimes you just don't get good market data. But if I can find some good sales data and it feels like something is truly moving along with the market, I do like to point it out. This week I went with a card that might not surprise you. It's Inverter of Truth. The pre-release promo went up $17.63 this week to $19.50. Oath of the Gatewatch foil went up $18.69 to $20.88. Keep an eye on this one. It could be going up as I speak, actually. All right, with that being said, that's the end of the Market Watch. Stay close to the market, especially for Pioneer cards, like I said earlier in the video. They are going to be moving fast. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of price shifts this weekend going into the new week. There's just a lot happening right now in the market. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon and have a great day.